Hello. So I'm making this video about how being a deadbeat parent or a parent who is not in their child's life, especially financially, is keeping you broke, basically. So disclaimer for this video, there's no condemnation in Jesus Christ. If you feel like you're a deadbeat or you're not there at all for your child financially, or you're not where you should be, you know that you're not where you should be happy that you're still breathing. There's still time, no matter what the situation is, to turn your situation around, make a positive change, no matter how old your children are. So there's no condemnation. You shouldn't feel ashamed of something that has happened in the past that you're trying to turn around and make right. So be encouraged that you can still make a positive change. What I feel like God has revealed to me is that when you don't take care of your children, especially in the financial area, there are financial consequences for you in the spiritual realm and in the natural realm as well. Because as a parent, your parent and child relationship is a reflection of God's love for us. So if you're not taking care of your children the way God takes care of us, He's not going to honor your finances. You're not going to see the types of return in your investments. You're not going to see your savings grow. Maybe you feel like you live check to check. Maybe you feel like as soon as you get your money, bills just take everything. And, maybe you've been waiting like, oh, well, when I get my savings to this amount, or when I get this level of income or at this tax bracket, then that's when I feel like I'll be able to provide for my children. But what I will say is that as a Christianity, it's a faith-based religion. So, things don't work where you already have everything you need now and then you go out and sow. You sow your seed first and then you reap. You don't take from your reap and then sow the seed. That's backwards. So basically what we have to do is give out of our lack in faith, that God will bless us, and that seed will grow and flourish. And so what that means for this situation is, no matter what amount of money that you have, you need to set aside something for your child. And it may seem ridiculous. Maybe you have $10. You need to give your child $1. Maybe that child's parent who's taking care of them, or their grandparents, maybe they would look down on that or laugh at that, but it's not about them. It's not about what you think about it. It's not about what your child thinks. It's not about what their mother thinks. It's not about what your family thinks. It's about you showing God that you're willing to give out of your lack to your child. And then once he sees that you've been a good steward over that small amount of money that you do have, that's when he's going to give you increase, to allow more money to come towards you. You'll be financially more wise. I've seen this happen in my own life where, I had to take steps to break that spirit of poverty over my life. Even though I'm not a parent, I'm speaking from the perspective of just a Christian, and I also happen to be a child of a so-called deadbeat parent. So I think that's why God put this on my heart. But in other aspects, which really I might make it to another video, I've had to learn how to move in faith when it comes to my money, be financially, wise, and grow in that area. So give out of your lack. First of all, pay your tithes, what you owe to God first and foremost, over everything. Even if you have a need, pay your tithes first. Show God that you trust in Him more than you trust in money, and you trust in your own, way to get out of poverty in your own situation. You have to trust God that he's going to provide even though you're giving out of your lack. And it's very powerful when he sees that. So yeah, bottom line is you have to financially take care of your children in order to get increase in your finances by God. And I have real life examples of this. I've seen this in my life with men, mostly. I do know that there are so-called deadbeats mothers out there, and I acknowledge that, but just from what I've seen in my life, it's usually men who have either stepped up and done the right thing and taken care of their children the best way they can. I've seen men that, don't do that. These men are, elders, older than me. So I've been able to see the consequences that happen, throughout their life because of that. And I've seen men who have children, out of wedlock, and they don't even acknowledge the child. And the children that they do have, they don't step up and financially take care of them. As they get older, I'm telling you, there's a pattern. They don't have anything to show for themselves. They don't have a car. They don't have a house. They don't have a wife. Things, some of them, they're up in age, still living with their parents, and it's okay. I've had to fall back and, move back home. But what I'm saying is they're not building, they don't have anything to show for themselves, when they get up into age. And then also I've seen men, just in my own personal life, who they had a child out of wedlock, and maybe they went on to get married and they had a child within that marriage, but they always did what they could for the child that they had before they got married. Or, maybe they never got married, but they always did for their children. Or, they got joint custody, or tried to pay the child support that they owe. These are men who aren't necessarily saved, but they still have a house, they have a car, they travel, their kids, able to pay for their kids' college, good jobs, still married. And I think there's a stark difference, because even though they're not saved, there's still principles in the spiritual when it comes to sowing and reaping. So they sow into their kids, God sees that, there's nothing holding them back financially from increase. When we sin, we don't do the right thing, the things that we're supposed to do. It makes room for sin to come, for the devil, to come into your life and rob you of things that you would have had. The devil, he's sent to steal, kill, and destroy. So any little opening that we give to him, he's going to do just that. So, I've seen this happen with my own eyes. It will affect your future, regarding whether or not you financially provide for your children. And so I know I mentioned I have a personal experience. My experience, it's not this situation, but I used to be very bad at paying bills. I'll pay them late. I was never one to steal money or borrow from people. I was always very, very independent. But when it came to bills and savings, I was just the worst at money. And it just got worse and worse and worse over the years until things came to a boiling point. And I basically lost everything, pretty much. Everything except my car. But, I wasn't faithful in my finances. I wasn't paying tithes, paying bills late and all that. And I know, I'm not going to put this stereotype on, the whole Black community at all, because there are those of us who are very good at finances, who have good credit, who do what they need to do, and they're good at it. There's a lot of Black financial advisors out there, but I know in my family, you know, I've seen things where we can be a little bit lax on paying the bills on time, you know, paying taxes and that type of thing. And so I know if it's in my family, it's in other African American families too. I want to put it out there that when you do that, it is a form of stealing. Believe it or not, when you say you're going to pay $50 on the first every month and 2 and 3 months goes by and you don't hold up to your end of the bargain, you are a thief in the spiritual. And what that means is God is not going to increase, God is not going to honor a thief's finances. You know, that it is a form of stealing. And I didn't know how serious that was until God had to show me that. So I've had to pretty much completely flip my whole thought process behind paying bills on time, making sure if you borrow money from someone, you pay them back, you know, hold up your word, because God is not going to honor a thief. And I don't think that, well, I think there are a lot of African Americans out there who don't realize that. They don't know that. So they're, you know, they're sitting up in church, they're doing what they're supposed to do to stay away from sin, but this is something that's happening in the spiritual that's still holding us back. And a lot of us, of course, racism is a factor. Systematic racism is totally and completely real. But a lot of us, we're not getting blessed the way we could possibly be blessed because of this. We're not paying our bills on time. We're not paying taxes. We're getting paid under the table. You know, we're paying people to do stuff under the table. You know, you have to do everything as upright as you possibly can if you're trying to get blessed from the Lord. Because He respects laws. You know, He respects doing things upright in the right way. So, back to the topic at hand. I know sometimes it's not as simple as, okay, well, this is my child, let me take care of my child. Because life is just not that simple. And I know that there are different situations that maybe you as a single mom or a single father have found yourself to be in that creates a mental barrier for you when it comes to financially providing for your children. I know one of those is divorce. Maybe some of you have a jealous baby mother, baby mother who won't let you see the child, won't work with you as far as seeing your child at a certain time that you can see them. Maybe you're jealous. Maybe you're jealous because, your baby's mother has moved on. Maybe the guy she's with is not a good guy. Maybe you feel like, hey, she's with him now. My child is with them. Let him take care of it, And so what I want to say to that is, if try to get joint custody. If you're in the same city as your child, if you're driving distance away from your child, try to get joint custody. And I think, I'm not an attorney. Let me put that out there. Number one, try to speak to an attorney, but see if that's right for you. Get joint custody, because I believe that, you may not have to pay child support if you have joint custody. If your child's mother is holding you back from seeing your child, once again, I'm not an attorney, but I would say, get the courts involved. Like, start the process now. Like, do whatever you need to do to get in your child's life, to be there for them, not only financially, but mentally as well, being there to raise them, helping them with their problems, helping them through life. That's what I would say is definitely get something established, because even if you're not paying child support, the mother or the father has no right to keep your child away from you, not unless there's some type of court arrangement or anything like that. There's no reason. So I would say take the steps now to get involved in your child's life. If you're the one who feels some type of way because your child's mother maybe moved on, she's not with you, then you need to go to God so that you can get over that. Because it's not about the relationship that you had with your wife or you had with your child's mother. It's about now what you need to do now for your child. That's your number one priority. That's your number one priority, not your past relationship. So you need to find a way to move past that. I know a lot of people, mostly men, but maybe in some cases women too, they feel trapped, like they were having a sexual relationship with this person and they didn't want a child, but maybe that person got pregnant or got you pregnant, and now there's this baby that you have with someone that you didn't want to have a baby with. What I would say to that is, even though it wasn't your intention, if you had a child, most likely you knew what was going to happen. You put two fertile people together. Most people are fertile. You put two fertile people together, they have sexual relations, and a child comes from that. You probably knew the possibility was there. So you're still equally responsible for that child, even if the woman, you feel like the woman got pregnant on purpose to keep you or trap you. That may very well even be true, but it doesn't negate that you're still responsible for the child's well-being, and you need to be there to raise the child. I know some people, men in this case, have had a relationship with someone, maybe it was just purely sexual, and you move on, and then later on this person comes back and says, hey, this is your child, this is your son, this is your daughter. And now you're like, what? You may have gotten saved since then. You may be married now. You may have moved on from the past lifestyle, from that person altogether. And you're like, hey, I didn't know. I don't know this child. I didn't know of them. I really don't want to feel responsible, for this child that I didn't even know that I had. And what I'll say to that is, even though we're new creatures in Christ, the things that we did in the past, we mostly still have to deal with those even after we get saved. And an example that I like to think about is maybe there was this man you can think about who, I'm sick, so pardon me, like I'm not a good speaker, but I'm also sick. But anyways, you can think of a person who maybe was a thief, like a real robber, in their past life when they was unsaved. So they go in and they rob someone's house, and maybe they run into a man who is trying to stand their ground, like, no, you're not going to take my things. Maybe the robber has a gun on them. They get into a struggle. Robber kills them. Robber gets caught. The man who got murdered by him, maybe he was an upstanding person in the community, and so people are rallied behind him, like, no, we need justice to be done. This robber killed the wrong guy. And so this robber goes to court, gets sentenced to death. And let's say this robber's on death row for 15 years. But let's say year 7, they get saved. They're a new creature. After year 7, they're in there, they're witnessing, you know, Holy Ghost filled, living for God on death row. And then 8 years comes around, you know, even though they're a new creature, you know, it's time for them to die. You know, it's time for them to die according to the courts. Now, even though this person, they got saved, they're a new creature, when they go to get executed, are they still going to have to get executed because of what they did when they were a sinner? You know, most likely yes. And that's because, you know, it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but the things in the past, the things that we sow with our free will, even as an unsaved person, we still have to deal with that after we get saved. And there's things that I have done as an unsaved person that I'm still dealing with years after becoming saved. It's things that I made that I change, mistakes and things that I've made that I can't take back. I can only deal with it with God's grace now. So the same would be in the situation if you had a child from your past who suddenly shows up. You know, with God's grace, you would just have to deal with that. You're still responsible for the well-being of that child. I know it's not easy, but I believe that's the truth. You know, in a really sad situation that is probably the extreme minority of the people who would watch this video is that maybe your free will was taken away from you. Maybe you didn't have a choice in the matter of whether or not you had a child. Maybe you got raped. I know that I have personally met 2 men that have gotten raped by women. You know, one was just really, really young. This woman got him drunk and he woke up, his clothes was off. He had no idea what happened, you know, and this person was there that shouldn't have been there, and he was, you know, he was unclothed. So I know that happens. I know it's probably extremely underreported, especially, and I know it's underreported by women and especially probably by men. In that case, I just want you to know that God sees you and your pain and he cares. I personally believe that that's something that if there was a child that came out of that as a result, I believe that's something that you have to take to God and maybe an elder that you really, really trust, and try to work it out with them, because I'm in no place to say, and I would never put the onus on a person who was raped to say that you have to, you know, take care of this child. And, you know, in that case, an adoption might be the best option, or, you know, it's just all dependent. Maybe a really, really strong person could step up and take care of the child in that case. The point is, my advice would be to go to God, because I really don't have any advice in that manner. But I did want to bring it up just to let you know that God sees you, he cares. Yes, there's an innocent child involved in that, but in God's eyes, you are his child as well. So I just want to let you know that if anybody is telling you, oh, you're a woman that got raped and pregnant, or you're a man who got raped and impregnated someone, if anyone's telling you, oh, suck it up, get over it and raise your child, there's an innocent child involved in this now, I wholeheartedly believe in my heart that's not the voice of God. If they're glossing over your pain like that and they're not dealing with the suffering that you went through, I don't believe that that's how God would approach the matter, you know, the matter, excuse me. So yes, I definitely will be praying for those who are watching this video who may have gone through that. Also, a situation may be that you had a child with someone. Maybe it was supposed to purely be a sexual relationship. Maybe this person was just one of many women who you were sleeping with, and you had a child, and now the child is here, and you feel like, well, I didn't even want this child, and I was not in an intimate relationship emotionally with this person, and you just don't love your child. You see your child, there's no attachment, there's no bond. You don't want the child for whatever reason. What I'll say to that is, I would suggest deliverance, because it's natural, and you see this even in nature for the most part, it's natural for a parent to love their child. So it's automatically going against God if you don't naturally feel that love and bond for a child that you had. So I would say, pray that any stronghold, any generational curse, any weapon formed by the enemy is broken over you, because that is a spiritual issue. If you don't love your child, that's a spiritual issue. Even children that you may see, like a neighbor kid or a nephew or a niece, even that child, just a person, even though they're not the parent, can instantly have like a level of love for. Like, even if I saw a stranger, like a toddler, walking down the road about to get hit by a car, I'm instantly going to put my life in harm's way to try to save that toddler, because it's just natural. Even though that's not my child, it's just natural for us to want to do that. So if you instinctually you feel like there's no love for your child, I would say there's definitely a spiritual issue, and you should probably seek deliverance from that. Maybe it comes from you hating the mother or the father, or maybe the mother's family or someone. I know hate can open up a door for your heart to be hardened like that. So I would say seek deliverance. And also I wanted to address, sometimes we come to Christ late in adulthood. Maybe you're wanting to have a relationship with your child now. You weren't there for them when they were children. Maybe they're an adult. Maybe they're hardened towards you. They don't want a relationship with you. But now you're ready to have a relationship with them. I would say in that situation, pray. Definitely you want to be praying and fasting that the Lord touches their heart. They have a change of heart, and they become open to having, a parent-child relationship with you as an adult. They're now an adult, so you have to treat them like an adult. You can't go back and try to raise someone in their 20s or 30s. That opportunity for you to do that has passed. So you have to address them as an adult. You have to speak with them as an adult, but you can definitely impact their life as an adult. It's not too late for you to do something positive in their life. As far as financially, I feel like maybe if you're in this situation, you're like, well, my child hates me. I'm not going to give them a birthday gift or give them money for Christmas, or, make sure their bills are paid, because why am I going to give them money and they hate me? They won't even talk to me. Why would I give them money? In this situation, what you want to do is give without wanting to receive back. People love money so much that they are willing to put a condition on whether or not they give. You don't want to put a condition on whether or not you give money to your child. You don't want to say, oh, I'm giving you money, you should love me. I'm giving you money, you should get this type of job. I'm giving you money, you should go to college, unless it's a college fund specifically. But I'm giving you money, don't date this type of person. You don't want to put a condition on whether or not you take care of your child or provide for your child, because that's your duty. That's your duty as a parent to do that, regardless of where your child is in life. Of course, I'm not saying if you know your child's going to go and get some heroin, give them money. I'm not saying that. But if your child, is living the average life, it's your responsibility to provide for them. Don't put a condition on whether or not you give. Don't give money to your child wanting to receive something back. And I'm telling you right now, that's going to make your child resentful if you try to do that. They're going to recognize it's conditional, and it's going to make them resentful if you try to do that. So if your child's unwilling to have a relationship with you, maybe they're older, send them a gift anyway. Send them money anyway. That's going to make a positive move in a negative situation. And I'm not saying that's going to solve the problem, but they won't be able to deny that. Like, oh man, maybe he does have a change of heart. He's sending me money. No, I'm not going to talk to him back. Knowing I'm not going to text him. No, I'm not going to call him. But he's still persistently going out of his way, to provide for me. He is trying. And if that was me in my case, I know that would be a sign that would soften my heart, if that happened. And, still try, because it's harder when you're younger. Trying to stay on point here. When you're younger, it's hard to have people asking you about your father, and you don't know what to say. You don't. It's embarrassing. It's shameful to not have your father there. It's hard. But I'm telling you, even as an adult, that doesn't stop. People never stop asking you about your parents. Like me, at the big age that I am now, somebody just asked me last week, just a stranger just trying to have a conversation with me, getting to know me, and an actual brother in Christ was asking me about my relationship with my parents. And it sucked. It sucked telling him about the situation with my father, even though that's how it's been since I was little. It still sucks, even as an adult, to have to say, okay, he's absent for XYZ reasons, and, even if you can remedy that, if your child is an adult and you can come into their life, it makes it that much easier for them to be able to say something like, oh yeah, my dad is this, my dad is that. You know each other, you have a relationship. At least you can say that. They can keep it surface level with a stranger. They don't have to say, oh well, I don't really know what he's up to, or I don't know where he lives, or anything. It makes it harder. And whenever they are ready to date,